It's very rude of you. This is what I get for filming a video right when I have a Amazon package that's supposed to be delivered in like 2 minutes. Anyway, back to this. My bangs never want to sit where I want them to sit. I want to get the lift, but at what cost? Hello there, friendly neighbors, and welcome back to my channel! I don't have a ferret with me. What kind of ferret YouTuber am I if I don't have a ferret? I got a ferret. 1 second. Lyra's gonna be my ferret spokesperson for this video, as you have been for my last several videos. But the people want what they want, and what the people want is Lyra. Oh, I'm sorry I woke you up. Thank you for kisses. Oh, I've been kissed by an angel. Let's get started with the video, I guess. Hello there, guys. Welcome back to my channel. I think I said that already, but now you get to say it twice. I am welcoming you twice. Hopefully you feel twice as welcome. Today we're going to be talking about something that every pet owner finds very important because we love our animals, and the best way that we know how to express our love is through food. Treats are, in my opinion, a very essential part of my ferret's life. Treats are very good for showing your ferrets that you love them, as well as positive reinforcement training, which, as we know, is the best way to train ferrets. Are you mastering the litter box because of positive reinforcement? Are you? I think that means yes. She is. But of course, the problem with treats is that there are so many different types of treats out there, and there are so many treats out there that are garbage. We don't want garbage treats. We want good treats that taste good and are still healthy for our ferrets. So for today's video, I am going to be giving you guys my top 5 ferret treats. One of the big reasons I want to make this video is because at the beginning of this summer, I got a job at a pet supply store, and it's really opened my eyes to the different sorts of options there are for treats and foods and toys and just everything out there in the pet world. I found a lot of things that I didn't know existed just because I am surrounded by them for 40 hours a week. And so I just want to be able to share some of the products that I found with you guys so that other people can find new wonderful things that their ferrets really like. Just keep a note throughout this video, I do live in Canada, land of the mooses and the snow. So the selection of stuff that I can get is quite different than the selection of things that can be bought in the US or the UK or wherever you are watching my videos. I will give brand recommendations, but just because I don't say the specific brand of treat that you are looking to buy doesn't mean that it's a bad treat, so long as it follows sort of the guidelines that I'm gonna say. I'm so bad at saying things, you know? Lyra fell asleep in my lap. She's too cute. Now, before I start talking about my 5 favorite types of treats, I do want to talk a little bit about treats in general, because there are treats that are not as, they suck. They're terrible. Don't buy them. So the biggest treat that comes to mind that I think is the absolute worst treat out there to give your ferrets is any type of malt paste. Ferrovite is probably the most popular one, at least here in North America. This product is terrible. Do not give this to your ferret. I have mentioned it in multiple videos. In my insulinoma video, I go into why they are bad for ferrets, but the Spark Notes version is it's basically sugar in a tube, and to ferrets, sugar in a tube is insulinoma in a tube. Ferrets should not be eating sugar. It is so bad for their pancreas. It causes a major spike in their blood sugar, which can lead to the creation of tumors on their pancreas. This is known as insulinoma. So please, please avoid malt pastes. It's very frustrating because, like, even my veterinarian recommends malt paste. Luna just got finished doing a treatment for a respiratory infection that she got, and I had to give her antibiotics twice a day, and my veterinarian recommended giving her malt paste after giving her the medicine as a treat. And it just frustrates me because people will hear their vet say, oh, you should give this to your ferret, and then they give it to their ferret all the time, and then boom, bam, your ferret gets insulinoma. And it's because of the malt paste. Do not feed your ferret malt paste, not even occasionally. It's really bad. Just you don't need to, so don't do it. Now the second worst treat sort of follows under malt paste, and that is Marshall's Bandit treats. Even the Marshall's freeze-dried treats, in my opinion, are terrible. I want to be clear about this. I don't think that the Marshall's freeze-dried minnows are bad because they have bad ingredients. The reason that I don't like to see people buy them is because they are a Marshall's product. So when you buy them, you are giving Marshall Ferrets your money and telling them that they should continue to make products because you want to give them your money. And Marshall just is not a good company. They are the leading ferret mill in North America. They're responsible for a whole bunch of issues with ferret health, so I just don't like to see people giving them money. I hope that makes sense. Bandit treats, just like malt paste, have just like so much sugar in them that your ferrets really don't need. I always like to point out the fact that they have a raisin flavored treat for some reason, even though grapes and raisins are toxic to ferrets, so that kind of just shows you how hypocritical they are with these treats. The last thing I want to mention about ferret treats is that ferrets are very picky eaters. If you have a ferret, you are very aware of this. So a lot of the times when you buy a new treat for your ferret, they might not be interested in it right off the bat. Don't let that discourage you. I have found that the more times I offer the new treat that I've given to my ferrets, they eventually realize that they want to try it. For instance, when I first brought freeze-dried treats home, Luna just didn't want anything to do with them. She was like, "What is this? Mom, get this out of my face." And now I open the bag of duck treats and she comes running across the living room because she is so excited to eat them. So really just keep trying, keep offering them to your ferrets, maybe cut them into smaller pieces, and eventually your ferret might decide they want to try it. They might not, but with ferrets and eating, persistence really is the key. So just keep trying. You'll get there eventually, hopefully. Now that I've talked your ears off, let's actually start the list off because that's what this video is about. Number 1 on the list, my favorite kind of treat to give my ferrets is 1-ingredient freeze-dried treats. Most ferret owners already know about these treats because they are pretty popular to feed your ferrets and it's normally the thing that everyone recommends. The best types of treats for ferret are 1-ingredient treat. That means that the only thing in them is chicken or beef or an animal protein. What makes a treat freeze-dried is the process that is used to make it. So these treats are very quickly flash frozen and then dehydrated, and what this does is it makes them sort of like dry-ish. They kind of have the consistency of cardboard almost. There are a couple different options of types of meat you can get freeze-dried. You can just do standard muscle meat. Chicken breast is probably the most popular of this. There are also quite a few brands that sell freeze-dried whole fish. My ferrets really like freeze-dried minnows. They go absolutely nuts for them, and at work we also sell freeze-dried sardines. And the last option is freeze-dried organ, normally liver. Freeze-dried liver treats are super popular in the dog owner community, so I almost guarantee that any pet store you go into, you will be able to find a freeze-dried liver treat. I've seen a lot of people online saying that you should not feed your ferret liver treats because they aren't safe, and I think this comes from a misconception that liver has a lot of vitamin A, so if you give your ferret liver treats, they're gonna get too much vitamin A, which can result in the vitamin A toxicity. The thing about that is, it really only applies to raw liver. Yes, if you're giving your ferret raw liver, like constantly, if they're getting like so much liver every day, that's gonna be really bad for them. But if you're just giving them a freeze-dried liver treat maybe once or twice a day, it's not gonna do any harm. But just make sure you aren't feeding them more often than that. And if you are concerned, the easiest thing you can do is just not feed these types of treats. 3 brands of freeze-dried treats that I really like are Pure Bites, Ultra Limited, Granville Pet Treatery sells dehydrated sardines, and Crumps Natural also sells a selection of different types of freeze-dried treats. So long as the freeze-dried treat you're giving them is 1 ingredient, you are gonna be okay and they're gonna be safe. And of course, make sure your ferret isn't allergic to the protein that you are feeding them. The second type of treat you can give your ferrets is dehydrated or slow-cooked animal parts or organs. So yes, I know that title is kind of like long and there's a lot of things in there, but I think that this sort of all belongs in its own category. I actually did a video where I made some of these treats pretty early on in my channel, so feel free to go check that out. Just like freeze-dried treats, the important thing to remember with these is to make sure that they are 1 ingredient. So there aren't any extra added flavors or anything like that. Sometimes with dogs, dog treats like to add honey or barbecue flavoring or something to make it more appetizing to the dog. Don't give these to your ferrets. Bad idea. Avoid that. Even though these treats are also one ingredient, they are quite different than freeze-dried treats, and that's because they're cooked differently. So where freeze-dried treats are frozen and then dehydrated, these treats are slow cooked at a pretty low temperature. And what slow cooking at a low temperature does is that if there's any bone in these treats, instead of drying it out really fast so that it splinters, it actually crystallizes the bone, making it still safe for your animal to eat. And by slow cooking it, the meat is preserved so it's not raw and it's gonna last for a while. The texture of it is sort of just like jerky, and it's cooked in sort of similar way to human grade jerky. There's quite a couple different options of types of meat you can get for your slow cooked treats. You can get wings, chicken feet, chicken breast. I know chicken hearts are pretty popular. Chicken gizzards, literally like pretty much any part of an animal you can get done this way. You can also get liver, and just like I said with freeze-dried treats, just limit the amount that you're feeding to your ferret and it should be okay. In the video that I did, I made hearts and gizzards, and my ferrets really like them. My favorite brand for these types of treats are Puppy Love, which is a Canadian company, but Red Barn also sells them, Pet Center, and apparently Raw Feeding Miami and Hair Today both have these sorts of treats on their website. So if you are a raw feeder in the States and you order through those distributors, just go check out their treats because you might be able to order some treats for them. I like to buy my ferrets duck feet because they take them a long time to chew, but what's important to know about the things that have bone in them is that you want to make sure the bone isn't too thick. So when it comes to duck feet, I actually have to cut off the ankle part, and they can literally only eat the feet. They kind of focus mostly on the toes. I would definitely recommend when you're feeding these types of treats that you keep your ferrets supervised just in case they choke or something, because you want to be there if that happens. We don't need no choking. We don't need it. We don't want it, we don't need it, right? Are you trying really hard to stay awake? The third treat that I like to recommend is one of the things that I discovered existed through working at a pet store, and I had no idea that they were a thing before then. And that is salmon skin rolls. My ferrets really like fish. I know that not every ferret likes fish that much, so maybe this one won't be for your ferrets if you have a ferret like that. But basically what these are is they are rolls of salmon skin that have been slow cooked, so they're a little bit hard, but still a little bit crunchy at the same time. I've only been able to find the Wild Pacific brand for these. I'm not sure if more brands exist or if it's literally just special to that brand. I like to cut my salmon skin rolls up for my ferrets. I cut one roll, which is about yay long, into 4 pieces, just because I think that one roll is quite a lot for a ferret, and I don't want to throw off their meal balance. The fourth treat that is really great is something that I don't know if I necessarily consider a treat, but I still want to put it on this list anyway, and that is egg yolks or whole eggs. This is one of those things that you've probably heard about because everyone talks about feeding ferrets eggs, so I'll kind of skip through it pretty quickly. Essentially, you can give your ferret 1 to 2 either egg yolks or whole whisked eggs a week. What this does is it gives them vitamin A, omega-6, and it can help with hairball prevention. Basically how it works is that the fats in the egg yolk bind to the hairs, and it just allows your ferret to pass them easily through their system as opposed to them becoming a blockage, which is then of course a whole big thing that we don't like to deal with. Egg yolk is also a great source of protein, so I really recommend giving your ferrets at least 1 egg or egg yolk a week, and just make sure that you whisk it up really well with a fork or a small whisk, and don't just feed the egg white. It's the yolk that they get the nutrients from. My ferrets really like their weekly egg, so definitely give it a try if you got ferrets. Oh, and a warning for if you're feeding your ferrets egg, your ferret will have a weird eggy poop after they eat it. That's just normal. Do not be alarmed. It will be yellow and it smells really bad. That's just how it is. It's the egg going through their system. The last treat that I'm going to be mentioning today is one that is a bit of a controversial subject, but I still did want to put it on this list so that I can bring up the controversy and we can talk about where it is and isn't appropriate. So the 5th treat to give your ferrets is salmon oil. Salmon oil is something that at one point in the ferret community was like the ultimate holy treat, the best thing you could ever give your ferret, the all-curing potion, magical elixir. But now we sort of see problems with it. The reason so many people like to suggest salmon oil is that it does a lot of pretty good things for your ferret's body. For one, it can help with joint pain. It gives your ferret a lot of omega-6 fatty acid. Ferrets like the taste of it, and it helps with skin and coat health. The issue with salmon oil is overfeeding it. Salmon oil has a very specific amount that you should be giving to your ferret every week, and often people overfeed it. And what that then does is it actually has the opposite effects on ferrets. It can affect their joint health in a negative way. It can also affect the way that their blood clots. So that means that if they were to get a cut or something, the blood wouldn't clot as quickly as it needs to, and that can lead to a significant amount of blood loss. And it has a negative effect on the immune system. So that means your ferret can get sick worse and sick easier. I don't want to go into all the science of all of these things just because that would pretty much warrant an entirely different video that I don't really feel like filming. So if you want to read up on the reasons as to why this happens, I will have links down below, so feel free to go check those out. Another reason that salmon oil isn't super great is that it oxidizes super quickly. So that means that the second it touches oxygen, it begins to go bad. And because of that, it doesn't have a very long shelf life. And this is the case for really any fish oil or fish product. You could buy a whole big bottle of it, but it's possible that by the time you get 3/4 through the bottle, you're actually feeding your ferrets fish oil that has gone bad, and that's not good for them because you're feeding them a food that is spoiled. So if you have salmon oil, really make sure that you are keeping it closed very tightly and you keep it in the fridge. That's the best way to make sure it doesn't go bad. And I recommend just buying it in small portions, like buy the smallest bottle you can, which ends up costing you more money, but also it doesn't go bad, so it's better in the long run. Also make sure that if you are giving your ferret salmon oil, that you are only giving them salmon oil. Cod oil is something you can also buy, but cod oil is extremely high in vitamin A, and if you're feeding too much vitamin A, that's really bad for them and it can cause a vitamin A toxicity, which is why so many people are scared of overfeeding liver, which is ironic because people get scared about liver treats when it's actually fish oils that they should be scared about, so do what you want with that information. My opinions on salmon oil are that if you have a kibble-fed ferret, I really think that you should invest in possibly feeding it. Just make sure that you are only feeding 1 teaspoon throughout the week, and that's not 1 teaspoon at once. It's throughout the week, so like a couple drops every day really is what you should be doing. The reason you want to do it for kibble-fed ferrets is just that they don't have access to eating fish. So if you're a raw feeder, instead of feeding salmon oil, you could just feed fish and get the same benefits. I feed my girls whole sardines once a week, and that gives them the same omegas without the risk of me accidentally feeding them salmon oil that's actually gone bad. Having said that, I do actually have salmon oil in my fridge. And the only reason that I have the product is because Nova really likes it. Because Nova has insulinoma, I have to make sure that she's eating every 12 hours or her blood sugar gets to a dangerous level. So there are times where she doesn't want to eat, and the only way I can get her to eat is by putting a drop of salmon oil onto her food, and then she'll start to eat. So that's the only reason I have it, and she's the only ferret that gets it. I think with pet ownership, it's really important to remember that nothing is black and white. There's a lot of gray areas, and I think salmon oil is one of those things that's a big gray area, and it's going to depend really a lot on the individual ferret and the individual owner. So just make sure that if you are feeding it, that you've done your research. I will have resources down below for all the information that I've got and any bonus reading that you want to do about the salmon oil. Well, thank you guys so much for watching this week's video. This has been 5 ferret treats. Hopefully you guys found something that you can try feeding your ferrets, or you learned something new, or you found a brand that you might go out and try. Lyra says, I like my treats. Can I have a treat for being cute in this video? No, you just pooped on the floor. You don't get a treat. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, because by doing all of these things, you can become a citizen of the friendly neighborhood, which is the best place to be, in my professional and personal opinion. I will see you guys next video. Hopefully you have a great week. So long, my friends. Ira, don't squirm. Why can't you just sit still? She says, I'm baby, don't know how to sit still. That's my armpit. Does it smell good? Yeah, I didn't think so.